Hello, welcome back. Today we are doing another sewing video. My niece said that she quite enjoys the sewing videos. So we're going to be making something I have wanted for a very long time. When I was a kid, I would watch a lot of things that had women wearing outfits, usually tailored outfits that were pink and black. So for example, Marge Simpson got a Chanel suit which was pink with black trim. I would watch mermaids. Cher and Winona Ryder wore a pink and black polka dot fitted dress. Although it was pink and white, there was Malibu Stacy, and she had a peplum. That was another thing that I thought was so glamorous. So today we're making a pink and black outfit with a peplum. So I bought this fabric. It was advertised as pink with black polka dots, but it is more like vomit pink with brown polka dots. Perfect scale, but practically useless. I ended up getting just some regular pink poplin, and I got to go over the top of it this black polka dot tulle. And I thought I could overlay the tulle onto the pink poplin. We also have some black poplin that I flocked. Once a fabric is flocked, because of the glue, it's like fray-free. My original design, it's a sheath dress with tulle shoulder straps and a tulle peplum and gauntlet sleeves. But then I came across this pattern, which is McCall's 2207, and it had like a peaches and cream outfit, inspired outfit, and a day to night inspired outfit. So I thought, because of like the pink and black Marge Simpson Chanel suit, I thought this would be great. I could make the peplum removable and then use the sheath underneath the jacket, and then it will become like a suit. So I managed to find that pattern for free on Pinterest. That was actually suggested to me by Oliver. I was actually buying a lot of PDF patterns off Etsy, and even though they're $3 to $5, something like that, it adds up, and you're giving money to people that don't really own that intellectual property. So it kind of just rubs me up the wrong way that people profit off that kind of thing. So yeah, Ollie suggested Pinterest, which actually is amazing. He found some patterns for me, and I've since found so many patterns for free. So definitely recommend, doing Google searches, Pinterest searches, looking on Facebook or any other kind of social media, asking friends, rather than spending a whole bunch of money on patterns when you don't need to. So I did download that pattern, but the jacket was quite loose. So this is a mock-up I did. This side here kind of illustrates how loose it was. The sleeve was really huge. I've darted the back on here and taken in the sides, so it actually looks more fitted than it originally was. So on this side here, you can see I've done some hand stitching. I took the sleeve in and I darted the front there, and it gave it a much more tailored look. I'll show you the mock-up I have with those changes, but as you can see, it is much more tailored. In fact, this outfit, although it's illustrated like day to night Barbie, it actually reminds me more of an early 80s designer fashion. So I've actually got a TLC fashion editor dress. I've already removed the zipper. But yeah, I'm going to pull this apart and try and make a pattern from this skirt. I'm using a bodice pattern from Simplicity 5215. And this is my favorite bodice pattern because it has a tuck rather than a dart. And I've already cut out the collars from the black flocked fabric. And I've done two because I'm going to try and make two of these side by side. And then I may sell one on Etsy. And then these are my altered pattern pieces. So I have the sleeve, the front and the back. And because it is like an 80s inspired outfit, I'm going to be using plastic snaps just to kind of make it seem a bit more authentic. Now I guess we just need to prep the fabric. Okay, so I have my fashion editor turned inside out, and I'm just going to start unpicking the stitching. So now I've got to unpick the hem. It shouldn't be too hard because hems are usually loosely sewn. And then I've got to unpick the darts and the back seam. Now I did not know that I had a seam ripper for many years because it was like this. I thought it was just a little brush to clean out my sewing machine. I didn't know it came apart and there was a seam ripper inside. I felt so stupid when I found out. And then we're going to starch it, but I'm going to starch it along with everything else. So I've just got my crisp spray starch. Okay, so I should have mentioned this just before, but you really should mark where things go before you iron it flat. Now there is some wear on this, so I might still be able to tell once it's flat, but just to be sure, I want to mark where the darts go and where the zipper starts. So the zipper started about here, I can tell because the fabric kind of jots out just a millimeter or two here, and that tells me that that's where the seam was and it was pulling out. So I'm going to mark that there. Now I'm not sure what this fabric is, but I'm just assuming it's synthetic because I don't want to melt it if it is. And the starch just makes it nice and rigid so that when you trace it onto paper to make your pattern, it doesn't move around. I'm always worried when I do videos like this that I'm going to get judged on my ironing skills or something. And as I thought, you can see the you know, the yellowed exposed bits, so the markings weren't really necessary, but it's better to be safe than to be sorry. Now with doing this method to make patterns, there's always a bit of guesswork involved, because obviously fabric does pull out of shape and there is fraying, so always go to the ends of the frays, not where it's frayed to. I made the pattern for the skirt. So what I forgot to mention is that when you're making a pattern from an actual piece of clothing, it's going to be different on each side. So what I do is I usually take both sides and I kind of split the difference. So if one side's 4 millimeters longer than the other, then I'll take 2 millimeters off and add 2 millimeters onto the other side. Things like that. I've done a quick mock-up of this skirt and it seems to be pretty good. So I'm going to go ahead and cut out all my pieces now. Black polka dot tulle, which I am going to cut down to size just so that it's easier to work with, which means I'm going to need my scissors. Okay. Okay, so hopefully this works and nothing got lost. I just knocked the camera over, so that was fun. So I kind of use, with polka dot fabric, use the dots as a guide, like a little dotted line to cut along. Okay, so the starch isn't helping as much as I thought it would, but it is helping a little. Alright, so the skirt we're going to cut on the fold. And we're going to do 2 of each, remember, so I'm going to need pins. Okay, so that's one skirt piece cut out. Oh! Yeah. Okay, so I stopped filming last night because it was a bit of a disaster and the recording process was taking hours for an activity that would generally take me about half an hour. But here's all my pieces. So we have the front pieces, we have the skirt pieces, the bodice pieces, the sleeves, the backs, and the facing, which doesn't have any lace. I'm reconsidering putting tulle straps on this sheath dress. It's an extra step, and I feel like when the tulle's bunched up, it doesn't look fantastic. I also think with the peplum and the sleeves, it might be a bit over the top. What I have to do now is mark the darts, the tuck here. I haven't actually drafted out the dart for the front yet, so I'll need to do that. So I'll just do that on the back of the pink pieces. And then once I've done that, I'm ready to start sewing. I am also going to kind of do like preliminary stitching just to hold the tulle and the poplin together so that it doesn't move around as much when I'm trying to sew it. With the tulle laid on top, the pink kind of becomes more muted, and it's quite a light pink to begin with. I was trying to think of a way to kind of bring some more pink back into the outfit. I have decided that the straps are a bit much, so I'd like to not do those. So I want a strapless dress. Ollie suggested putting some kind of trim or something on the dress. The ribbon I have is really dark pink, so I figured I'm gonna have to use this rather than doing, you know, the usual like strip of fabric somewhere or a bow or something. I decided to kind of make piping and just kind of place it at the top of the bodice, and that should bring in just a little bit of pink. To do that, I have a length of poplin cut on the bias so it's nice and stretchy and it can curve. Basically, we're going to insert this twine I have. To do that, we get the sewing machine on, and I'm going to use a zipper foot because it has channels on either side which allow bulky material to go under. So we're going to have the cord going under here, and then it will stitch alongside the cord here. Okay, so I have my twine wedged between this bias tape, and so we're just going to start stitching. I'm going to start with the dress, and I'm only going to show you one because you don't need to say the same thing twice. I've already overlocked the facings for the jacket. I did that last night. Pretty simple, but I'll show you how to overlock on the dress. Now, I'm doing the dress because it does require a fair bit of overlocking, and it's good to get most of that done all at the same time. So, I've got some fluff on there. The first thing I'm going to do is probably I'm going to cut this to size. I've worked out that I want the bodice to flip over at the top about 1.3 centimeters, just because that's where I think it looks best. So I'm going to do that so that I can stitch that on, and then that will guide the bodice to the right height. Okay, so I'm just pinning the piping onto the bodice, matching up the ends perfectly. There we go. And I'm just going along like a millimeter in from the stitching before on the when we actually put the twine into the casing. Okay, there we are. And see, it will just flip over and there'll be a tiny little pink edge. It will kind of help keep it flipped over. So I have my darts marked out, and it's all pre-stitched to keep the tulle in place. Okay, so I'm just going to go ahead and dart these off camera because I do need to pin between each one. So simply you just fold and then go along the line. Okay, and that is the skirt completely darted. As you can see, it's got a nice round shape at the top there for Barbie's hips, and I'm going to clean up all this loose thread, and then we're going to overlock all the loose edges. Okay, I'm going to switch over to my overlocking foot. So it has a guide here to keep the fabric going in straight, and then it zigzag stitches over this little post in the middle, and that's how it overlocks. If you've got a good eye and you can keep the fabric straight, you don't even really need this. Most machines can do a zigzag stitch. You can basically just zigzag stitch over the edge of the fabric. Okay, I'm gonna start. Ooh, I've got to change these settings. I actually keep forgetting to change the settings, and I've broken so many needles. I actually broke one on this project. I do feel like this project's a bit cursed, and I'm thinking maybe it's because I destroyed a vintage Barbie fashion in order to make it, but hopefully it will turn out alright. Yeah, I go fast sometimes, I get a bit impatient, but there is one overlocked edge, and I'm going to go ahead and do it here, which is a bit more tricky because it is on a curve, and when I've done the darts here, that will be on a curve as well. I won't show you all of that though, but I will show you the darting. Okay, so that is the overlocked seam on the skirt. I did forget to mention that these two front darts here should be facing inwards, and these darts here should be cut open and splayed, just to kind of reduce bulk and make it sit properly. This overlocking step is optional. I don't think it's really necessary. It does make your outfit just a bit more hard wearing. Okay, so I've sewn the tucks here. They're tucks because they end here rather than at the edge of the fabric here. So I've just pinned them inwards so that when I overlock, it will lock them into place in this position, as that is the position they need to be in. Okay, and now that is overlocked, I should also mention to be careful that when you're setting the length for the overlocking stitch, that it won't be visible when you do your final seam. Now I'm going to attach the bodice to the skirt, and I'm going to pin it and then stitch it. Here we go. This is when we'll get to see roughly what it will look like when it is finished. So you can kind of fold it around. I think it's looking pretty good. Alright, so I'm going to do the back seam, and then the dress will almost be finished apart from adding on snaps and doing the hem, which is all done by hand, so I'll be doing that later. First thing I'm going to do on the back of the jacket is do this back dart, and then I'm going to attach the fronts to the back at the shoulder seams. I'm just really overwhelmed at the moment because the jacket is probably the hardest part. The dress is only 2 pieces, whereas the jacket is all of this. It's quite overwhelming. But yeah, you just need to not think about it and just do it. So I'm just going to do that back dart on camera and then do the shoulder seams off camera. I like to pin where the dart starts and ends, just because I can't always see the pencil mark, especially in this bright light and under the foot. It kind of casts a shadow on everything, so I can't really see it. here we go. I'm just going to, oh no, I've put that too far back. I'm going to wheel it for the first stitch or two, just because with this dart we want it right at the very edge, otherwise you get kind of a little bit of a tuck. Okay, so the next step is to kind of make sure these are flat, and then we're going to baste stitch the sleeve onto the body of the jacket, I guess, and then we have to machine stitch it after that. This is one of the most stressful parts of sewing for me, trying to make a curve like this match up with a curve like that. It's a lot of manipulating. You have to like twist and pull, but then you have to make sure that you're not getting folds on the other side, and yeah, it's just a nightmare. Basting does help. So basting is like just your basic up and down stitch. I'll show you a bit, but yeah, I find that the smaller and closer together the stitches are, the better. Now I believe this is called a running stitch, but I could be wrong. Alright, and basically you end up with just stitches just like that. You'll also want to use a contrasting thread, just so that you know which threads to pick out when you're done. Alrighty, here we go. We are sewing the sleeves into the jacket. Okay, so I'm gonna wrap it up for tonight soon, but I'm just gonna quickly top stitch the cuffs. So I've just turned it up. I eyeballed it, but I measured it afterwards. So yeah, I'm just gonna stitch it about 1/8 of an inch from the bottom there. Okay, so I'm just going to take the collar and let's get this in focus. Take the collar, then I'm going to fold it in half, fronts together, make sure that it's matched up, then I'm going to press at the back, right on the fold. Then I'm going to take my chalk pencil and I'm just going to run it over that fold there. And that should give us our center line, like so. And then I'm going to baste this onto the jacket by placing that center line roughly to the center. Okay, so I said I wasn't going to work on it anymore tonight, but I'm obsessed and I can't really think of anything else. So I've basted my collar and I've pinned on my facings, and I'm going to stitch along the bottom here and then all the way around the collar to the other side and then down the bottom again. Okay, so I have my side pinned and I'm just sewing it together. I'm keeping the seams of the armholes facing towards the sleeve. That just gives it more of a crisp look at the end, which is what we're going for. Okay, and now I'm just going to overlock this bottom edge here. I'm going to be sewing the bottom hem up and then continuing on around to do the top stitching, just to keep everything held in place. So it's all pinned ready to go. And done. So basically we just have to do the front darts and then it's all just cleaning up and, you know, some other little bits and bobs. Okay, so it is sometime later, as you could probably tell. I have had a haircut. I tried to cut my own fringe and it did not go so well, so I buzz cut it. Hopefully I'll have this up by New Year. I wish you all a very happy New Year. Let's have a look at the completed outfits. I did a fair bit more off camera. I think it turned out really well. So we have Stolen from Barbie wearing the suit. I added this little kind of rosette thing here with a Swarovski crystal. As you can see, it's really nicely fitted. Move her ponytail. And then it changes to the nighttime look. So I made this purse to go with it, and we have the peplum which closes in the back with a tiny little slit. Looks really fluffy. I love that. And I really think this strip of pink really brings out the pink of the outfit. So yeah, that is that. I'll show you what it looks like without the peplum. And that's it without the peplum. Kind of has like a very lingerie feel to it. And this is Victorian something or other Barbie. I'm pretty sure you already are familiar with her from the review and the restyle of her fringe. So that is all for this video. It is going to be a long one, I apologize, but I did want to show you all like in more detail what my process is like with sewing. Yeah, I hope you enjoyed it and I'll see you all in the next video. See ya.